11 soldiers charged for mutiny granted bail. O'Neill announces 6 changes to Cabinet. PNG Hunters forward suspended from training.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Monday's news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill today announced a cabinet reshuffle. Mr. O'Neill said the changes come as the government continues to prioritize stability in the economy, the LNG project and the autonomous region of Bougainville. Among the changes, the Prime Minister will now oversee Bougainville affairs.
Prime Minister O'Neill announced the changes in cabinet portfolios today, saying the shuffle will better position the national government to take advantage of emerging development opportunities. He said minor changes to cabinet positions are important to maintaining administrative flexibility as the global and national economy evolves. The 6 ministerial changes are as follows. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill now takes on responsibilities of the Minister for the Autonomous Region of Bougainville. Ben Micah is the new Minister for Petroleum and Energy. William Duma is the Minister for Public Enterprise and State Investments. Nixon Duban is Minister for Transport and Infrastructure. Justin Tachenko is Minister for Sports as well as Tourism. And Stephen Kama is now Minister assisting the Prime Minister on constitutional matters.
And it is important that the reshuffle that we are doing today adds to that value, adds to the growth of the economy. And one of the main challenges is to try and bring some of the projects that we have in the pipeline into full development states, especially in the petroleum and mineral and energy sector. That is why today we make some changes that will give us some level of comfort.
The Prime Minister explained that the former Minister for Tourism, Boka Kondra, will remain a minister without portfolio in the government whilst legal issues are being resolved. In the meantime, Mr. O'Neill stressed that there are a number of important projects for PNG which will require ministerial focus and enhance the effectiveness of government processes. Among these are the new LNG project and development of a new gas field.
That is why today we make some changes that will give us some level of comfort that we want to conclude many of these particularly agreements as quickly as possible so that we can put more jobs, more Papua New Guineans into jobs over the next few years so that they can also continue to grow the economy and have their living standards continue to improve.
Mr. O'Neill said the government was careful in making changes to the cabinet and that changes are only done to enhance government capability. He said most ministers are in their positions for extended periods to fully advance their departments whilst ensuring stability. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Bail has been granted for 11 soldiers charged with mutiny. Justice Alan David has granted bail for the 11 PNG Defence Force soldiers who were charged on the 31st of December 2015. Lawyers representing the soldiers submitted the bail applications on the 9th of January 2016, but the decision was adjourned to this morning. The 11 are now out on 2,000 kina bail each.
The bail applications were submitted based on 4 grounds. They include the number of months the soldiers were away from their families, which is over 64 weeks. The holding cells were too crowded and cannot accommodate over 10 men, and all were fathers and sole breadwinners. However, lawyer representing the state objected the grounds, arguing that there are serious charges against the applicants, and despite being detained at the holding cell at Mari Barracks, they are able to enjoy privileges that persons in a normal police custody may not. The initial bail application was submitted at 300 kina for each applicant because all 11 were removed from the payroll. However, Justice David granted the bail at 2,000 kina each. It was granted on the following grounds. The nominated guarantors pay a sum of 1,500 kina and the applicants pay the remaining 500 kina, and the 11 are to remain within the National Capital District until their case is over. The case will return to court in February. Meanwhile, the case of the female probationary constable who was alleged to have been involved in the condom eating saga was deferred to January 13, 2016. She was taken up to Bomana this morning, but because of the power outage, taken back to the Boroko holding cell where she is currently being detained. Her accomplice, the male police officer, has been located in Nipa and will be taken into Port Moresby, where he will also be formally arrested and charged for his involvement in the incident. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
General Secretary of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, Father Victor Roche, has condemned the pack rape of 2 women and 2 young girls on New Year's night in Port Moresby. The church has called for a ban on alcohol in settlements, especially during festive seasons, for peace in communities instead of revenge attacks, and for the perpetrators to be punished.
After a visit by Father Victor to Morata 1 yesterday where the incident happened, the Catholic Church presented their demands today to the media. The Church has demanded a ban on alcohol in settlements where most alcohol-related crimes are happening, for the law to take its course and punish the criminals, the government to have a real and working leadership structure in every community to take responsibility of such crimes, and for authorities to encourage people to go back to their provinces instead of struggling in the city.
Port Moresby is already crowded, and it's also birthplace of many crimes and petty crimes and big crimes. So it is good to encourage, and the government should come up with some creative ideas so that they go back to their own respective places. Because now Port Moresby is colorful and it is so attractive, and the rural places are not attractive.
The incident happened minutes after midnight on New Year. 2 women and 2 teenage girls were pack raped by more than 40 men, identified by police to be from Enga province, who were under the influence of alcohol at that time. The cause of the incident is still unknown. Currently, 5 suspects are behind bars at the Boroko police station.
To allow this and make it a good, habitable settlements, we need to have proper control of the settlements. It is a good way. It is a good way to make people, provide options for their own daily lives. But if there is no control, we will face this kind of problem.
Sister Mary McCarthy from the National Catholic Education is calling on health practitioners and counselors to help the 4 female victims and their families who are traumatized by this incident through counseling.
There were many people who were trained in trauma counselling, because the effects of an incident like this, particularly on the young girls, is something that they will have to carry with them as a burden in their personal life and in their relationships.
This Saturday, the Arawak community in Port Moresby will present a petition to the government. One of the petitions will be on the use of alcohol, drug and homebrew in the settlement areas that are causing such problems, especially to women and girls. Another petition will be on ethnic groupings in settlements. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
A confrontation between police and Defence Force personnel in Manus yesterday was quelled following an attack on an army officer by 2 policemen. Acting Provincial Senior Police Commander, Senior Inspector David Yapu, confirmed the incident today. He said the situation between the 2 disciplinary forces at Lorengau town could have been worse, but was contained by police. The victim was attacked by 2 police officers who suspected him of having an affair with the wife of a policeman. He was admitted to Lorengau General Hospital with severe bush knife wounds to his head. Senior officers at Lombrum Naval Base have pulled back their officers and assured the police not to cause any altercation as they allow for investigations to continue. Meanwhile, 2 police officers from Manus have been arrested and are in police custody. The continuous brutality and abuse by officers of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary has resulted in the arrest of 6 members, 5 male and 1 female. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill issued a directive at the start of the new year for Police Commissioner Gary Baki to deal with officers who have committed crimes under oath. The stern warning from the top hierarchy is now a challenge for the Police Commissioner, who has declared 2016 as a year of discipline. Tekla Gunga, who has been following the arrests of the policemen, brings us tonight's special report.
All 6 officers were charged for their involvements in the different disciplinary offences. From the 6, 3 are probationary constables and have less than 3 years of experience in the force. Now from the 3, 2 are probationary constables attached to the NCD Beat Patrol unit. On Tuesday last week, they were released on a 1,000 kina bail by the committal court for their involvement in a sexual touching charge. They are 23-year-old Pedro Baiba and 22-year-old Guilford Avenamo. The next day, a suspended police officer on the run for months was captured by NCD police and formally charged for illegal possession of a police-issued firearm. On Friday, Constable Baiba was charged for armed robbery, while another police officer charged by the National Court for sexual penetration of a minor. All this misconduct and abuse of power by disciplined officers have prompted Police Head Gary Baki to push commanders to address ill-disciplined officers working under their commands.
Continues to be numerous complaints and allegations leveled against members of the constabulary for abuse. These issues have caused great feeling of fear and mistrust in the hearts and minds of our people, much to a point where immediate remedial actions or interventions is now necessary to restore people's trust and confidence.
Baki admitted that our PNGC is facing serious challenges because of the breakdown of supervision at all levels in the constabulary. He said commanders will be held accountable to ensure that our PNGC's disciplinary process is strictly enforced nationwide.
What is happening now in the public is a sign of a total breakdown in the command and control. Commissioned officers as well as non-commissioned officers are wearing the ranks but are not performing to the expectation.
The Police Force Act outlines at least 50 minor and serious disciplinary offences and the administration process involved. From these disciplinary offences, the 6 police officers were charged with 5 different offences.
In a nutshell, the statistics reflect effective and prudent constabulary disciplinary processes and systems that we currently have.
Police brutality remains the most committed offence by police officers. It was described by the Commissioner as an abnormal behaviour by a police officer and is against the fundamental duties and responsibilities of a RPNGC member. Statistics from Internal Affairs Directorate registered over 1,600 cases of police abuse between 2004 and 2007. From these statistics, 300 were criminal cases implicating RPNGC members and 125 classified as administrative disciplinary offences. Police record shows that over 270 officers were dismissed from the force between the 7 years.
We will get all this medium available so that media and the members of the public know exactly what are the numbers to contact as and when they've cited any incidents of police brutality.
Following these allegations, Baki has appealed to the public to report any police brutality cases to the Commissioner's office or at any police stations. His appeal is in response to Prime Minister Peter O'Neill's directive to weed out officers found to be practicing unethical behaviours and the use of unnecessary violence by police.
Those kind of arrests are very clear and strong message to the rank and file that our citizens have just about had enough. They want to see a disciplined force, not only the police force, but also CIS and the defense force.
Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll be back with more after these messages. Welcome back to the news. Kagamuga International Airport in Mount Hagen has received 2 new fire trucks through the Civil Aviation Development Investment Program. This is to ensure that Kagamuga meets international civil aviation safety and security standards. These fire trucks, including 1 vehicle, were commissioned this morning at Kagamuga Airport.
As the old ones were decommissioned, the new fire trucks were commissioned after all tests were done, certifying the trucks ready for use. Airport fire safety officers have gone through training on how to operate and maintain these machines. This change is in line with the government's vision to improve and revitalize existing civil aviation infrastructure to meet international safety and security standards.
Of the safety and compliance, that's part of the thing for ICAO standard, the requirement for our airport, big airports like Mosby, Hagen, Ley, to have fire trucks. So that's why the government has improved to assist in this by bringing in new fire tenders.
This, including the upgrade of Kagamuga Airport to international standard, all comes under the funding arrangement with the government of Papua New Guinea and the Asian Development Bank. Under this arrangement, a funding of 2 billion kina will be utilized over 9 years to improve all 22 airports in the country, including upgrading its infrastructure. After Mount Hagen will be Ley and then Kokopo, which will also receive similar machines. Purchased at a cost of 3 million kina each, these fire trucks are more advanced than the previous ones and can perform in all conditions. Michelle Amba, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Ward members of Transgogol local level government in Madang province are calling on the national and provincial governments to come clear on their salaries. They were told to open accounts so that their salaries could be paid, but it's been 2 years since then and nothing has changed.
The ward members, also known as councillors to the people in the villages, say they were promised 2 years ago and nothing eventuated till today.
Council, recorder, mediator, plain blue LLC, plain blue national government. But only asking me all the councillors, all the recorders, all the mediators must open account with them. None open my account, none wash my study. All those money. Now all the account with them.
The councillors also mentioned that money for projects like medicine for the 8 posts are also being delayed and the people are blaming them.
Antap government Mr. So or legal man meri tamblo mipla or legal line where government inosa luluglo mipla ilukauti mipla lukauti true or man meri tamblo.
The councillors say that the authorities are not working together to address their issue.
Look blam lukim every now I'm stop namel a political head na CEO Makal Joli na political head blam Bernard Koita LLG president mipla lukim also sila differences work stop namel tupla.
It is understood that a Ward 15 councillor was attacked by the people when he was blamed for the lack of services which costed him his life.
National government long Antap one time Governor Blomipla, Jim Cass, one time open member Blomipla, Nixon Duban. Please, Mipla ask him all sem, all ista prostitution long dua Blomipla, na only look him over something emi kamapista.
Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
Law and Order Committee members at Ley's District Ahi local level government have raised concerns over the allowances they get. Last year, 1,500 kina was distributed among more than 20 Law and Order Committee members for the work at Ahi's Ward 9 area. Ley District last year made a commitment to allocate fortnightly allowances for community policing officers on a quarterly basis. However, committee members claim they have only received one payment.
In an arrangement between lay district and volunteers of law and order work, more than 300 committees have been maintaining peace in communities for the past 10 years. In 2015, they received 1,500 kina for more than 20 of its law and order committee members, and some of their efforts have paid off. Homebrew equipment given up to police last week. However, below lies their struggle of receiving little money from the district to support their livelihoods. Charlie Foxy has worked a law and order committee for over 3 years now. He receives little allowance from the district yearly. Lay District's Law and Order Committee Chairman Sam Oyaya has, however, confirmed the district has committed to allocate allowances for community leaders this year.
You must seek a training long or learn the committee. So this is a training online concern 305. Now this is 305 that's all based up long allowance long Lay District.
The committee of more than 300 committee members has been working alongside village court magistrates and police to maintain order in lay communities. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Lay.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina opened unchanged at $0.3325 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3250 $0.4652 Australian dollars, €0.2936 and 37.67 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and coffee closed higher, while cocoa and copra closed the day lower. Crude oil and copper closed lower, while palm oil closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 276 points lower, the ASX closed 25 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed 22 points higher. You're watching National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, Papua New Guinean women breaking barriers in aviation. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. New Deputy Chief of Mission of the United States Embassy in Papua New Guinea has encouraged responsible journalism. A former journalist, Joel Maybury, had a meet and greet session with the local media in the nation's capital today. Mr. Maybury took office as Deputy Chief of Mission 4 months ago, replacing his predecessor, Melanie Higgins.
The media was invited by the U.S. Embassy for a meet and greet session with the new Deputy Chief of Mission, Joel Maybury. Prior to joining the U.S. Embassy in Port Moresby, Mr. Maybury most recently served as Deputy Chief of Mission in the Central African Republic. Having worked as a journalist at a newspaper for 13 years, Mr. Maybury urged reporters to practice responsible journalism, especially when it comes to getting both sides of a story.
I've lived it, 13 years as a journalist. I have seen the stories that came out and were pretty one-sided and that painted someone in a pretty bad light. Put yourself in the shoes of the accused.
He said part of building one's credibility as a journalist was to uphold freedom of the press with responsibility. The meeting also discussed the difference between reporting national news and community news, where the audience and readers are more interested in news that related more to them. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Central Province Governor Kila Hauda, who is on recreational leave, was represented by his first secretary, Michael Ligo, today. Unlike other big centers, Ligo confirmed that Central Province does not have resources, assets and businesses to benefit from.
We are doing a dairy farm over there, so hopefully this project will replace the dairy import of dairy products from Australia and New Zealand.
Today, a check of 90,000 kina was presented to the provincial representatives. CPTA will also present 90,000 kina monthly to central provincial government as revenue. This will total to 1.1 million kina at the end of this year. CPTA's Managing Director, Gary Dogodo, is aiming high to see development in the province through services.
They work with us together, we work with the administration and the government of Central Province.
Meanwhile, CPTA is reforming its 2016 program to a more disciplined and customer service culture. Since last year, they have seen an increase in clients and customers visiting the office for license renewing or car registrations. Fasinata Yama, National MTV News.
The residents of 8 Mile in Port Moresby will see a new market for its growing population. For them, this new infrastructure will save residents the hassle of travelling to Gordon's Market to buy and sell their produce. This is the first time a proper market will be built for the 8 Mile community.
They are anticipating the construction of the newly pledged market for the area. This will create an income opportunity for families living here. A 98,000 kino check was donated by the member for Moresby Northeast, Labi Amayu, to the contractors for the construction of the market. The construction commenced today.
We should commit $500,000 here, which is for the ablution block for 200,000 and 300,000 is for the market.
Residents say this will be the second development in their area. Recently, they received water supply to cater for the estimated 30,000 residents.
A project we put on the settlement, which had never done in another part of the, even not in the country, which the settlement was, because they've been having no water with more than 20 years. They've been here.
Community Law and Order Committee, Jonathan Kongai, says the ATS area still needs more infrastructure development to cater for the growing number of residents.
I've been around road difficulties, but we still maintain. We have members coming in and out, and especially we need a health center. For ATS, we got about 35,000 population in ATS area, and we really urgently we need a health center. Very evident my mothers will sit down properly and do the marketing. And
ATS has a mixed population of residents from around the country. Representing the Million Bay and Central community, Alfred Genna says although there are different communities living in the area, they all live in harmony.
ATS is the model settlement in the city. You hardly can see any problem whatever around here. It's more controlled and the people are more civilized, that's what I would say.
Marilyn Diaukatam, National MTV News.
Bronwyn Casito last November received her license as an aircraft avionic maintenance engineer for the Fokker 70 and Fokker 100 aircraft. Casito is one of 4 female engineers at Air Niugini and only the second licensed engineer. Living by her own motto of self-perseverance and to never give up, Bronwyn Casito finished high school and then attended the University of Technology, undertaking applied physics. She worked for 2 years before applying with Air Niugini and after 9 years received her license as an aircraft avionic maintenance engineer.
It takes around 15 years for an aircraft maintenance engineer to become a licensed engineer with Air Niugini. But for 30-year-old Bronwyn Casito, who reigns from Eastern Highlands Province, it took her only 5 years. Casito is the second female national at Air Niugini to be licensed as an aircraft maintenance engineer and says that the hardest part was getting into the aviation industry.
Hard because it's a really small, it's not a big area of work. It's small, so it's only small amount of people get in at a time. If you're lucky or if you try, you have to keep on trying and trying till you get in. So the challenging part was getting into an aviation industry, like to work with an aviation company. Yeah.
Casito, unlike the other 36 candidates who are currently going through the engineering program, self-studied and set for her exams here in PNG. She says that she is very proud that she gained her license here in PNG.
We did exams with civil aviation, and that's it. It was 6 sittings in a year, so you had to do your own study at your own time and go and do exams. At the same time, I was working, so it was a bit stressful, but I made it.
Bronwyn Casito is one of the 4 female avionic maintenance engineers. The second licensed engineer is Lassie Bundu, and the other 2 aircraft maintenance engineers are Cindy Kala and June Tamumu. Aircraft maintenance manager John Robert tells MTV that he is very proud that Air Niugini has 4 female aircraft engineers. He says that Air Niugini has 54 licensed engineers, and of those 54, 2 are female.
When she picked up a license, we were all very happy. We were proud for that, and a lot of people congratulated her. Yeah. So I, as an immediate manager, I'm proud of her. Yeah.
We asked Bronwyn how she felt working in a field that is dominated mostly by male.
Most of the male guys are fathers. They have their own children. Most of them have daughters, so it's nice. You talk to them. You have this sort of father-daughter relationship with them, and it's really nice. They're very helpful, and regardless if you have any differences or whatever, when you're working, it's work. Everybody helps out.
Adelaide Xerox Kari, National EMTV News.
Turning overseas now, an Englishman, Rob Laurie, is facing a charge of aiding illegal immigration in France after being caught trying to smuggle 4-year-old Baha Ahmadi, an Afghanistan migrant. Laurie, who is a former soldier and father of 4, said he was compelled to act on compassionate grounds. He was arrested when border police found the child in his van while on his way back to Britain.
The former soldier decided he had to act after he saw pictures of the body of a Syrian toddler washed up on the shores of Turkey in October last year during Europe's worst refugee crisis since World War II. Laurie, compelled to act, closed up his carpet cleaning business in England, bought a transit van and headed out to offer any sort of help that he could give, as he described.
I just did it because I could no longer see her live in this squalid, environment. It was just ridiculous, so I couldn't do that anymore.
He met 4-year-old Bahar and her father in Calais, France, where they camped as refugees. There he delivered tents, aid and helped build temporary structures for the migrants living there. He will appear in court on January 14 in France, facing a charge of aiding illegal immigration.
I do regret it. I do regret it because it's cost me everything. It's cost me my family and it's financially bankrupted me. But that's about me. It was done on the spur of the moment out of compassion.
Laurie initially refused to take Bahar when her father asked him to take her to a relative living a few miles from Laurie's home in England.
It's difficult to say, yes, I was very morally compassionately right, but it was illegal.
However, Laurie described how Bahar had curled up on his lap and fell asleep on his final night in Calais that made him act on his paternal instincts in the spur of a moment of madness, he recalled. Since his arrest, 2 petitions asking to spare him from a jail sentence have collected more than 150,000 signatures online. Despite public support for his cause, he could face a jail term. Under French law, he could serve up to 5 years in prison. Lorraine Gabina, EMTV World News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Hunters for Timothy Lomai suspended, and more sports news after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG RFL CEO Bob Cutmore announced this morning the suspension of PNG Hunters forward Timothy Lomai. The 23-year-old was suspended from the PNG Hunters preseason camp and further training for not maintaining the values expected of the Hunters playing group.
Less than a week after being named in the final 25-man squad for the 2016 Inter Super Cup season, Timothy Lomai has been suspended from further training with the PNG Hunters. The former Enga Meoks player was suspended for not upholding values expected of the PNG Hunters playing group. Lomai's suspension can be lifted if he shows he is still committed to the PNG Hunters' stated values. PNG RFL CEO Bob Cutmore said it also depended on Lomai's willingness to show his fellow players and PNG Hunters staff that he is determined to do his best for the team. The PNG Hunters remains in training with a 24-man squad under the guidance of assistant coach Nigel Hukula while head coach Michael Marum is away. Jaylee Sapies, National EMTV Sports.
On a related note, PNG Hunters head coach Michael Marum left for Brisbane on the weekend to join Wayne Bennett and the Brisbane Broncos. Marum will be in Brisbane for a week to observe their pre-season training and will discuss the Hunters utilising the Broncos' facilities this year. During his absence, assistant coach Nigel Hukula will lead the newly formed 25-man squad in training as they prepare for the 2016 Intrust Super Cup season. A new captain for the 2016 season is expected to be announced upon Marum's return. 2 Papua New Guinean weightlifters will be eligible to represent the country at this year's Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. The representatives will be determined at the Oceania Championships in May, which will act as the Olympic qualifier.
PNG has been a dominant force in weightlifting throughout the region and boasts some of the best weightlifters in the Pacific. A maximum of 1 male and 1 female will be able to represent Papua New Guinea at the upcoming Olympic Games this year. At the moment, there isn't a weightlifter from PNG who has qualified for the Olympics on their own merit, according to the Oceania Weightlifting Federation. But General Secretary of the OWF, Paul Kofa, believes Papua New Guinean weightlifter and Pacific Games gold medalist Moria Barrow will qualify ahead of the Oceania Championships and Olympic Games qualifier. He also said in order for PNG to qualify a male and female weightlifter, the men's team must finish in the top 5 and women's team in the top 4 at the Oceania Championships. A total of 24 nations will be competing at the Olympic qualifying event. Dion Kombeng, National EMTV Sports.
To tennis now, and Papua New Guinean tennis star Abigail Tere Apisa fell short of winning the finals of the 2016 Queensland Money Race Championships in Brisbane, Australia. Following 3 definite wins, the 23-year-old lost to Slovakian Zuzana Slokova. Abigail will represent the region later this month in the Asia-Pacific Tennis League during the 2nd week of the Australian Open in Melbourne. Now, Trukai Sports continues after the break with soccer and Formula One racing. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To football now, and Hekari United FC have surged to the top of the Telecom National Soccer League with a commanding 8-point lead in the Southern Conference table. Goals by Koryak Upaiga, Papalau Awele and Wira Wama outclassed Gigira Laitepo as Tommy Semi made a return for the Reds.
Tommy Sami made a much-anticipated return to Hekari's attacking fold as midfielder Wira Wama also returned from the United States, playing a commanding role in the midfield in the absence of skipper David Muta. Gigira had been hoping to erase the memories from November when they'd been thrashed 4-2 in round 1 of the competition. But it was Hekari who would take the lead, Papalau Awele latching onto a through ball to slide past keeper Paul Peter. With Korak Opaiga again getting on the score sheet. Gigira would hit one back through captain Ian Yanum for a narrow 2-1 lead for Hekari into the halftime break. But the Reds' superior fitness and their constant possession of the ball had Gigira frustrated, and the loss of concentration saw Hekari slip 2 more goals in, with Wirawama adding a 3rd midway through the second half. And when Korea Kupaiga got his 2nd goal late on, it was all over. Moses Arisib's late consolation not enough, as Hekari mirrored their rout with another 4-2 victory. Jeremy Moggy, National EMTV Sports.
Still on football, the Under-20 Women's World Cup team will be arriving in Goroka next month for their 6-month preparation for the World Cup in November. The National Sports Institute has made available some facilities for the national team to use.
Facilities like the mess, rooms to rest, a common room for interactive theory sessions, and the use of the field have been given to the team for their preparations. Regional Development Officer Jeffrey Gideon said the facilities are up to standard and the team will not encounter problems.
We have the fields and also we will be supporting them with the high performance
to do fitness testings and also athlete education during the course of the 6 months training camp here at the National Sport Institute.
PNGFA recommended Goroka and the use of the National Sports Institute because of the high altitude and the availability of facilities.
This is part of our contribution to the Under 20 as a government agency. We are providing a facility that is conducive to training. Also, there are physiological benefits, like we will have them training at a high altitude before traveling out to for the lead-up matches.
PNGFA Operation Manager Idris Kumbrua was in Goroka to ensure the facilities were up to standard.
Yes, my coming here is to tie up a relationship where PNGFA feels very strongly that this is our national team, under 20 women, and this is an opportunity, this is a World Cup, where the first time PNG will be in a World Cup.
During the 6 months of training, some girls will be placed in schools in the province. Kumbrua said they are still in discussion with the Office of Higher Education.
We're working through Education Department at headquarters in Port Moresby. We've gone to see them. So they'll be put in various schools here so that we ensure that they don't miss out of their education, as well as also have fantastic facilities to train.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
To some sports news abroad now, and the first woman driver to race in the Formula One World Championship, Italian Maria Teresa De Filippi has died at the age of 89. Born in Naples on November 11, 1926, De Filippi started 3 Grand Prix in 1958.
We lost another pioneering member of the motorsport world today, Australian Alex Woods, a member of the Grand Prix Drivers Club that saw De Phillips as its honorary president, said on Twitter. The official Formula One Twitter feed also mourned the passing of an incredible woman. De Philippi tried to qualify for the 1958 Monaco Grand Prix with current Formula One Supremo Benny Elaston, another who failed to make the cut that day. In 1959, she again failed to qualify in Monaco and then retired after the death of her Porsche team leader, France ace Jim Barra, in a sports car race before the German Grand Prix at Avis. In 2012 book that marked the 50th anniversary of the Drivers Club, recalled how De Filippi was greeted when she tried to sign up for the 1958 Grand Prix in Reims. In her own introduction, De Filippi recalled the difficulties and misunderstandings she had to overcome. Being the only woman in the sport, only 5 women have entered the Grand Prix since the championship started in 1950. And Italian Lilla Lombardi, the next after De Filippi, remains the only one to have any success with 6th place in Spain in 1975. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. We'll have further weather details after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. First of all, in the southern region, Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma, Alota, Popondita, fine weather all round. In the Momasi region, mostly cloudy in Ley and Wau, some showers expected in Madang as well as Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, fine weather, some showers expected in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and brief showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, some showers expected in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Mendi and Wabeg, and showers then fog for Kundiawa. To a look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, Yule Island, to Hood Point to Samarai Island, sea 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel, Finchafen, and waters of Finchafen including Vitia Strait, CRC Islands to Long Island with waters west of Long Island, Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo, and northern PNG Indonesian border with waters of Manus and its western group of islands and waters of New Island to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas slight to moderate with southwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight with southeast to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas slight with northwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with northwest to westerly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And before we go, recapping our main stories for tonight. 11 soldiers charged for mutiny granted bail. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill announces 6 changes to Cabinet, and the PNG Hunters forward suspended from training. And that has been the news, sports and weather for today, Monday, the 11th of January 2016. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, Mary Botulo, pleasant viewing. Good night.